I got a big question. What do y'all want?
I want companionship, unconditional love.
Well, I want it all. It may not even be your job. It may not be that you had a bad day. It may not be your to-do list. It could be that you have a chemical imbalance and you can't even balance it. And you
That's
yourself
true.
don't even know what you need.
Sometimes, in the process of seeking and ensuring that you have security, for women, it manifests in the form of control, what men want, and how those two worlds collide in the context of our relationships.
Things that you came by. It's like knowing you're going to be there no matter what.
I just don't want a hard time, man. That's all.
We honestly feel like as long as we're both working to be our better self, if we were attracted to each other and say our lowest self, why wouldn't I be receptive to him being his higher self and vice versa?
And so we're definitely open as we open things up next week for that dialogue. Definitely come on, jump in. We want everybody to come in and give their perspective, but we're going to continue this conversation. All right, welcome to Date Night with Coach. All right, you're here with the Greens, Dwayne and Ebony, and Mr. and Mrs. Harv the Great, Eric and Sharice Harvey. And today we're going to be talking about relationships as it relates to need theory. So need theory is basically a theory that states that our motivation, what drives our motivation to achieve 5 basic needs. And those 5 basic needs are our physiological needs. That includes air, water, some other things that we'll talk about in a minute. Safety, need for safety, shelter, food, personal safety. Social needs, the need for friendship and connectedness among other people. Your need for esteem, you want to be respected. Need for achievement. And then self-actualization, that's that place where you get to a place where you feel like you've achieved and you've come to who you are as an individual. And so what we're going to talk about is essentially the distinction, the correlation, and the conflict between our needs and our wants and how they manifest themselves in the context of our relationships. And so today, I guess our topic is real simple, but not so simple. What women want and what men want, and how those two worlds collide in the context of our relationships. So we'll go be gentlemen, and kind of let the ladies go first. Simply, just from the standpoint of your lived experiences as an individual, I got a big question. What do y'all want?
You want to start off?
No.
Okay. So I can't speak for all other women. I only can speak for myself. So what do I want? I want companionship. I want love, unconditional love. Security. Safety as well. But security and safety in a sense of me being protected. And when I say protected, I mean physically protected, not necessarily monetarily, if that makes sense. For the gist of me, I think that's what I want. Yes.
Well, I want it all. I want to be monetary secure. I want to be protected. I want to be loved. I want to be not loved when I don't feel like being loved. I want it all.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk and kind of really dive into what women want first, because at the end of the day, I think I'll say figuring out what you guys want to help me out more than the conversation about men. So let's talk. So physiologically, right? When we talk about what our needs are, that's simple. I used to do a presentation with my students about motivation. We talking about high school kids, like, why you come to school every day? What is your motivation for what you decide to do? And kind of studying need theory a little bit, I gave an example of, it talks about like, simple needs, to eat, right? If you're hungry, that first bite is going to be something special. You get that, I ain't gonna say burger because I know we vegan and all that, but that first bite is gonna be something special. But after you start to fulfill that need a little bit, your desire to eat is going to dwindle. So that need is being fulfilled. So your motivation to go and do things to fulfill that need isn't as great. And so as we kind of go up the pyramid, because that physiological need is at the bottom of the pyramid, and then all the way at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. I do think about some things about our relationship that we'll talk about when it comes into those needs. But when you think about, I'd like to hear from you on when you think about what those needs are. How do those needs then coincide with your wants?
So I think, to be honest, a lot of your needs and wants, I feel like, have been conditioned on your upbringing or how you were raised or things that you saw or lack thereof when it comes to a woman's needs or wants. So I think your parents or, whether you're a married couple or single mother household, single father household, conditions what that person's reality want, what they want when they become older. So if you had, say, like a absentee dad or whatever, you might look more towards that financial security or whatever the case may be, versus somebody that might have had both, parents. That's honestly how I feel when it comes to that, as far as your needs and your wants.
That sounds like more like values to me, rather than your needs and wants. Like, your values is like what you perceive life to be, but needs and wants is like straightforward. I want this to be done. Most of the things is like needs is like ego-based. Wants is it's kind of coincides with each other when you think about it. Like, needs, it's like some needs can be necessary, but that's based upon, it's subjective to the individual. I might need just the bare necessities. Somebody else could say, well, that's not a need for me. I get that on the regular. Like you said, if your upbringing, if you was raised a certain way, then yeah, certain things that you might not perceive as a need because you never had it as a want.
And so what you're saying, it kind of captures the pyramid. So my physiological needs are paramount to everything. And so if I didn't eat today, I don't care if I don't have no friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
That social need is null and void if the need that comes before that isn't met. And so,
you might feel like if I had a friend, I could eat.
I mean that makes sense.
That sounds like accountability. Sometimes you gotta sit there and check yourself. Like, right? That's true.
But on the spectrum of that hierarchy of needs, the physiological needs are paramount. That's number one. And so, I know, food, water, air, reproduction, all that kind of stuff. All of the things that are physiologically just a part of who we are, needs that need to be met. And so, again, in many cases, working in the schools and things like that with kids and young people, I can't expect you to come here and be nice to your peers and sit and attentively learn in class if your physiological needs aren't met. So in most situations, when you're trying to address issues, you're trying to address problems, you get to the core of those physiological needs and make sure they're met first. And then let's start looking at those other things up the pyramid. Because being self-actualized is a daunting task if you ain't eating every day. If you're not, getting to a place where you're developing that self-esteem, if you're not getting to a place where you're socially engaged and you have some connectedness, and if you're not at the place where you're feeling you're safe, all of those things are very important to get into a place of self-actualization, which is at the top of that pyramid. So when you think about those needs, ladies, let's talk about your physiological needs in the context of your relationship. How does that line up with your wants? And again, physiological needs are air, food. They say when looking at it, it says reproduction, but the men are going to just say sex. That's clean. We'll talk about that on the men's side. But But those physiological needs, with in your relationship, let's talk about that as it relates to your wants, because needs and wants sometimes, again, they sometimes correlate. There's definitely sometimes a distinction, and sometimes there's conflict between needs and wants. Talk about it.
Go, sis.
Don't get mute now.
Oh,
when we was talking about bitter baby moms and all that, y'all had a lot to say. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like I said what I had to say. Say simple things as far as like, say, air, water, food. I honestly still think that's just what you were conditioned or what you think you need, because.
But it is needs. But I can't force you to breathe. You get what I'm saying? Like, how the fuck that's gonna be my
But when
job?
I think of air, I think of sometimes like not literally the,
space,
air,
yes.
just space. Me wanting to be maybe left alone. Me not wanting to have to deal with.
Oh, you mean? Oh, okay.
The chores of the house, cooking, cleaning, having sex, whatever that may be.
So you said you can just turn it off whenever the fuck you want to. That's what you're saying?
I mean, sometimes you need it.
You need, but if you turned that off in the beginning of the relationship, it probably wouldn't have been a relationship. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, that might be true, but we're here now.
Right. So that means that's the track.
So none of that matters.
So it's a track.
We're here now. We're in the relationship.
Oh my.
I get it. I get it.
Oh my.
But they say city girls up 1 point right now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They up
the
1 point.
representative, absolutely.
Hey.
Okay,
That's crazy.
absolutely.
So that there are there are people in relationships in which unfortunately some physiological needs aren't being met. Ladies. So how would you?
So the only physiological need that comes from a partner is sex?
No.
Because honestly, well, let me just say, I feel like the air, the water, all of that, I feel like that doesn't have anything to do with my partner. Like, I'm breathing, like
and so,
Erica said, like, you can't stop me from breathing. So, I mean, water is here, water is on the earth. So the only thing that makes me think about relationship is the sex piece.
So,
I mean, I think
food, shelter, clothing, and so those are some other.
I missed those
parts. And so if you're in a relationship, the most basic need. What is one of the things that you do when you connect and you make a decision to commit to somebody? Most times people move in together.
Right. Shelter.
That's shelter.
Right.
That's a part of your relationship. Is it a want?
But that still revolves around fucking. Like you.
I cannot. I freaking cannot.
That's where it starts from. Like, you know what I mean? That's the first thought. We don't think about moving together because it's the union. Like we it's we all it's on the regular now, right? Before they cut it off. You get what I'm saying? It is what it is.
In house.
Right. So that's a physiological need.
Okay.
So what about safety, ladies?
For me, safety, I might be a little old school with this. I don't want to be tougher than you. I'm sorry. So, like, I want to feel like if shit gets, we got to get down, that you gonna be there. We just gonna rough it out together. You know what I'm saying? That's my ideal of like safety. I don't want to be tougher than you. I don't want no meat
you
man.
like that thug loving.
That's right. Give it to me. Thug loving.
I can't.
Something. Like I said, I just don't want to feel like I'm the man in that sense. You know what I mean? I don't. It doesn't have to be like they just hood, they this, they that. I just want to feel like if we gotta get down, we gonna ride it out together. That's it. Like it's just that simple.
Disclaimer. How hard y'all think it gotta be to be the masculine man dealing with a Baltimore chick?
Boy, bye. Boy, bye.
That's a hard feat. Don't get me wrong, we handling it, but I'm telling y'all, it's the reason why y'all think we crazy. Look what we dealing with.
So personal security, employment, resources, health, property, that's all falls under safety.
Is there a question?
No, I'm just saying those are the things that fall under safety. The question was already posed. When you talk about needs, you talk about wants. That second tier of that pyramid, that hierarchy of needs, talk about safety.
Well, safety to me would be the biggest one.
I agree.
I mean, if you ain't feeling safe, what are we doing? One, for several reasons. We don't have a safe home. We don't have a safe being. You can't protect me. You can't. What are we doing? That's why I don't like small men. Because I feel like if we're the same size, we can do the same thing. So there's nothing you can do for me. You cannot add any value. That's my belief. What was the other ones?
Girl, sometimes these skinny niggas make pack a mighty punch.
Oh, I didn't say skinny. I said my height. My height.
There she goes, the height.
That's
things that that's things that men can't control.
I know, but
But
that's your
the key
business.
to it is, though, and I think a lot of wild women got misconstrued is like, when ultimate security is a man laying his life down for you. That means you gotta be very selective with who you choose as a mate, because every man is not going to put his life on the line for you. And it's like, most men ain't even been in a situation where his life was on the line. So he don't know what he's gonna do when he's gonna do it. But that's between, the person that you select to and how you nurture that relationship.
Based on what your wants and your needs are, because that may not even be a requirement for every woman.
That's true. I think it should be.
Well, she may not care. She'll lay her life down.
I mean, y'all say that until, y'all sitting in Walmart and you getting cussed out by a white man.
I can't. What do that have to do?
Oh my God. So let's talk social, guys. All right, that's friendships, intimacy, family, connection, all those things.
So I think with my social, I want what I give. If I give you loyalty, if I give you respect, if I give you my unconditional love, maybe even if I give you my time, I want the same. And I'm at a point in my life, if you can't meet me how I'm meeting you, then I gotta love you from a distance. I want what I give.
That's good.
I agree with that.
I mean, but then you gotta be under understanding if that person that you want that reciprocated from is in capacity to do that.
Yeah, that's true too.
Correct. And that's where it comes from, loving you from a distance, because not everybody is.
No, I mean, but I think the
And-
key to understanding is if you recognize who this person is that's in front of you, you will never even let it get to that level of the disappointment of them not understanding where they can take it from.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with disappointment. It's just I want what I give. So when I'm looking at people and I say I'm loyal, I might have somebody in my circle that might not be as loyal as me. So I might only expect what they can give. But I have the right to say, guess what? I no longer want what you're giving because I give this. So that's my choice on whether, I choose to deal with it, choose to accept it, whatever the case may be. So again, if I'm giving you this, I expect it. And if you can't, then that's my choice of whether I decide whether I want to deal with you anymore, whether it be family, friend, coworker, it just doesn't matter. I want what I give.
Okay. So look, I'm gonna push through these last two, even though they're very important. So we're gonna go as we need. But I got something I want to share in a little perspective on. Again, I don't know what women want, but I just want to give a little perspective. All right. So the next one we talking about esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. Let's talk about that.
I want to be who I want to be. I want you to love me, accept me for who I am, flaws and all, because I'm going to love and accept you for who you are if I choose to, flaws and all.
Let's keep it real though. Like certain flaws, lines get crossed. Like, it ain't nobody gonna love you through all them damn flaws. Like,
guess what? If I'm loving you through yours, yes, you are.
But let's keep it 100. I can handle a certain situation, but nobody's dealing with repeated flaws. Like if nothing is changing.
Well, I think that comes to, like he said, self-awareness, or you realizing that there might be a problem and then working on your inner self to change that, if that's what you choose to do. However, I feel like if we're out and we're having a good time, I want to be me. And that's just it. If that's my time to let loose, I'm going to let loose.
Depending on what your definition of letting loose is.
Well, nothing, coming from a wife standpoint, nothing that's raunchy or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, if I want to dance on a tabletop with my homegirl, we should be able to do that. If we dancing with each other. What wives don't?
Dance on tabletops.
Boy, bye.
This ain't no goddamn wild Coyote, Wild, whatever that damn movie was. The girls, right, yeah, on top of the tables. This
Well,
like that.
well, I feel like it's my life. It's whatever I want it to be.
It's Coyote Ugly.
Well, Coyote
That's
Ugly,
exactly
right.
what it is.
So let's take a theme vacation. We go to Arizona and let you have a night of Wild Coyote night in Arizona. We'll do it one time.
But is it that wild if you're with me? If you're there as my protector, is it that wild?
So you gonna put me under the situation that I gotta protect you while you shaking your ass for the whole crowd to see?
I'm
I
absolute-
gotta stand in front like the bodyguard and keep everybody off
Guess
their
what?
ass. That's what about me?
Absolutely, because then that lets you know that I ain't tougher than you. You know what I mean?
But
That's
like she
that
said-
goes back to me. I don't want to be tougher than you. You know?
We'll come back to this when we get to the men one. We're going to come back to that when we get to the men's section.
Because obviously we gotta prove our toughness. We don't make them prove shit, but we gotta prove our toughness.
Oh, we gotta prove ourselves.
In other ways.
In
Correct.
many other ways.
Correct. Yeah.
All you gotta worry about, in my opinion, is the toughness.
That's the most important
We
stuff.
gotta
You can
worry
lose your
about-
life being tough.
Yeah, well,
You ain't lose your life missing a couple of meals.
Well, maybe toughness is the wrong word. Like you said earlier, as far as the protection. I would never, anyone I love, I don't want to put them in a position to where they're risk losing their life over anything that's my age.
Shaking your ass on tables lead to people risking their lives.
That was an example.
Okay, bad example.
Thank you.
right.
So for esteem, and then the last one, self-actualization. That's the desire to be the most you can be. That's self-actualization. Any thoughts on that?
I think
give
that
my
for
perspective.
self-actualization, you got to be allowed to be free in all those other points.
Absolutely.
You got to, as it relates to a relationship, still have that individualism. Because if you feel smothered, I guess that's a psychological smothered, air is gone because you can't breathe and be who you would like to be. I think you can only reach that as if you are truly free and operating in your purpose and strength. Yeah.
And sometimes I think too, even with that, as wives, we have so much to do on our list. It's, the cooking, the cleaning, the sex, the kids, the events. Still being able to maintain your friendships outside of your house.
I'm just saying sex like that's a one-way thing. Like we don't put work in with sex. Like that's sex. Like you handing us the sex.
I'm saying that to say this. You still expect it, correct?
Yeah, but I'm saying, but
in the
we
list
both
of
gotta
all
put
the
in
other
work.
things that
sex
we're
is
doing.
like dancing. We on the floor, you on the floor. We both enjoying the tango.
I can't.
Listen, evidently you're missing my point. I'm saying a lot of times and things like the wives have to-do lists, way more on their to-do list than a man does. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Because the men don't put sex on the to-do list. Like, they don't do that. Like, that don't go
That
along
is the
with
to-do list.
Right, like it's no to-do. Like I said, sure. Like we gotta go clean the toilet and fuck my wife. Like it ain't doing all that. Like that's sex it's like a treat. After I finish cleaning up, while I do something extra for you, that's the treat. Give me the treat.
I cannot.
Like a puppy dog, huh?
But
Right.
like back to the point I was trying to make.
I didn't mean to get personal. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No personal. But back to the point, like I say all of that to say, as far as the the awareness of things, it's just as wives sometimes it hit hard. And what I try to personally work on, as far as in that area, is not giving all my time and energy to the things that don't serve me. So my thing is, okay, you go to work, you go to your job or whatever. Sometimes you work so hard at your job or whatever the case may be, when you come home, you don't have nothing left. That's not fair to the ones that mean the most to you, if that makes sense. So sometimes I try to I try to separate things or put things on what's more important versus what's not so much, to try to find the balance and not feeling like within my marriage or relationship that I'm actually losing myself, because it's very easy for a wife to feel that way with everything that's on that to-do list.
Well, we can take the to-do list and add hormonal all that
feelings.
crap, because we deal with some things that not even present in your day to day. It may not even be your job. It may not be that you had a bad day. It may not be your to-do list. It could be that you have a chemical imbalance and you can't even balance it. And you
That's
yourself don't even know what you need. So there's a balance that comes from you to be to communicate, but also your spouse to understand that, hey, I may not even be operating in a space that I know I'm in.
Correct.
So I need you to just be a little
Give grace.
aware, grace, my favorite word, that hey,
That's why
you can put all them things down on that list and we can throw hormones. I don't even know where hormones would be. I guess hormones would be
Physiological, probably.
Right, psychological.
yeah.
That's why.
That's where it would be. And that's one of the ones that you yourself have absolutely no control over.
But that's when every man need a hobby. If it's playing video
can't.
games, whatever you need to
What
do,
do the
welcome
hobby
to
got to do
basketball.
with it?
Because when you in them hormones, it's time to play the play game. Like, stay away from me. I'm going to turn the PlayStation on, give you your time. I'm going to go play basketball, give you your time. How we go? But,
So, you know, a couple things I kind of think about, just some insights on a couple of these areas. When we think about what women want, and I'm just going to kind of throw a question out and see if you guys agree, and then I'll give my insight. The security part, you know, the safety, security. Do you guys agree that security is something is that you want? Whether it be protection, whether it be making sure, you know, just knowing that your life is stable, right? And so something to kind of consider is that oftentimes in the process of, I'm going to say, seeking and ensuring that you have that security and safety, sometimes for women it manifests in the form of control.
I have to agree with
Wait,
that.
hold on. You
I have
lost
to
me.
agree with that.
Say that again.
Sometimes in the process of seeking and ensuring that you have security, for women it manifests in the form of control.
I agree with that.
So for the woman to be controlling?
Yes.
Oh, in order to secure
To
her,
ensure, right.
her safety.
Right.
Okay.
So ensuring that you're safe, ensuring that you're secure,
I do agree with
ensuring that things are good, that sometimes is manifested in being controlling. Let me just say that.
Yes.
Right? And so the challenge that I would pose is with that, for a man to navigate that, when a man is attempting to be that for you, I'm gonna say this. I ain't gonna dress it up. A man ain't gonna be controlled, right? Especially
not all men.
Hold on, let me just say this. Especially the man that's already locked in and trying to make sure you're secure, right? But sometimes somebody spoke about the history, right? The previous, the how you were reared, how you were raised, your experiences growing up and things like that contribute to maybe sometimes physiological needs aren't met. You know, I know me and some other people ate some syrup sandwiches and things like that, right? And not that, I mean, that was food, but if other needs along that hierarchy aren't met, you get to a place where you say, you know what, I'm not leaving this up to nobody else. But also struggling with the process of, you know, immersing yourself in a life with somebody else, but then still struggling to say, I'm going to make sure I'm secure. But I need you to make sure I'm secure, but I'm going to make sure I'm secure. But I need you to make sure I'm secure, but I'm going to make sure
It's
I'm secure.
the backup plan.
But I think the main key to that is being self-aware that your partner not doing something to take from that. Rather than we got a concept, because everybody got that concept of how it's supposed to emerge. But that's from a feminine side and a masculine side. So what I might be doing might not register at you at the time, but it might be the best for our benefit.
Yeah, no
but
doubt.
long as what you are fighting for is for the best of our benefit, it's not a problem to me. But the fact that if I'm building something and you have characteristics or you have behaviors that's taken away from what I'm building, I think that's just when it becomes a problem for me. You know what I mean? So,
you know, before we move on to as we kind of move forward through this conversation, I do want to acknowledge and really just kind of be clear. In our work and in our life, you know, we also have couples that are same sex, 2 women, you know, 2 men. Not only knowing the 2 men, but 2 women, And so thinking about this concept, right? Thinking about the things that we're talking about, those needs, that hierarchy of needs, what women want versus what men want. The reality that the hormonal piece, right? And I actually took a class on domestic violence when I was going through my studies, and it talked about how gay and lesbian relationships were more susceptible to domestic violence because
Absolutely.
they were more isolated. Of course, back in the day and things like that, because it was a taboo situation and they didn't even have anybody to go to because they were most likely hiding their relationship and all of that. So consider everything we talking about, right? Now you have two people with the same makeup trying to navigate that. You know what I mean? So I got respect for that. You know, I don't understand it in terms of living it, but at the end of the day, when we sometimes look at life through our lenses and we think that's the only thing there, right? So just know that as we're talking about what men want, we're talking about what women want. We do understand that the two couples that you have here is two heterosexual couples, and we're talking about things based on our lived experiences, based on our perspectives, as it relates to our relationships. And so we're definitely open as we open things up next week for that dialogue. Definitely come on, jump in. We want everybody to come in and give their perspective, but we're gonna continue this conversation. Essentially, that security that we want, right, ladies? And I'm not sure if you've experienced it, but you experience it as a man, trying to be that man for your woman. There are times where you be like, yo, I'm here for you. Let me be that. You don't have to be the heavy here. Let me carry that thing. Let me be the man. Let me bear the brunt of the leader, so to speak, right?
Oh, I went through it. Goodness gracious, I went through it. But that was like in the beginning to the point where like when me and her first got married, if a problem arose, she used to run her family. And I used to be like, but my upbringing, I didn't have family just to go to. If mistakes was made, I had to figure it out. Now I had my mother where I'll go to my mother and I'll say, look, ma, shit fucked up. By Friday, I might need this. But by Friday, I figured it out. She'll be calling me by Friday and be like, you still need that? I'm like, oh, I done figured out my bed, this, and that. And that's just my perspective. That's how I work with things. I think like when you go people's last resort, you know what I'm saying? But she was raised differently. I had to understand that. But as a man, I understand where you're coming from because it's like, let me be that. You got a man now. I understand when you were single, you could run the distance and that. But it's gotten better because now I dealt with it and we went through that, and she transitioned to the point where it's like, no, it was like, now people come to us. You see what I'm saying? So it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Any thoughts on that security thing? I know you guys kind of agree, but I would like to hear your perspectives on any insights.
As far as what he just said, I mean, I was gonna say, I think actually there's definitely been some change in me, and I think that personally because I just was raised by a strong woman. You know what I mean? My mom ran the household. I mean, I was a 2-parent household, but it was just like what she said, that's what went. You know what I mean? And my dad at certain times would speak up on things that he didn't agree with. And when he did, she would shut it down, but that was far in between. So fast forward into my relationships now, I'm thinking that I have to do or have to be the same way. And not realizing that one, I am not my mother, she is not me. And 2, he's not my dad, and vice versa. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're not the same. So everything doesn't require that. What I can say personally is now that I've let go of some of that control, I'm out here, I'm free, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a freeing feeling, you know what I mean? And not sometimes always have to think or this to be like, you know, sometimes even now I'd be like, well, babe, what you want to do? He'd be like, well, what you mean what I want to do? Like, you leading, what is it that you need? Because it wasn't always kind of like that. It was me being stubborn and then even selfish to be like, well, I want to do this and this is the way we wrote this type, you know what I mean? But being together all these years now, it's like, no, like, what you want to do? If you don't want to do it, we ain't got to do that.
And you realize it's better over here.
Oh, Lord.
She's starting to realize that.
I can't.
He makes sense sometimes, most of the time.
Yeah,
You know, he's very logic. I might be more emotion driven. And to be honest, I've even realized that some of my thought process has changed in regards to me adjusting to him. Not being as so emotional or about certain situations. Be like, well,
She a Nas
what you
fan. She
think?
be listening to Dave East and Benny the Butcher. She do all that now. Like it's merge can get amazing at though. I'm telling you, just hang in there. Get amazing. I'm telling you.
Whatever, but you get what I'm saying. It's just that part of that has been a release off of me. So, and I'm just being honest. Yeah.
So, babe, you agree with the security and control piece? Let me hear your perspective on that.
What did I agree with?
That sometimes I gotta give it the same way I gave it before. Sometimes that desire and that need for security manifests itself in control.
Oh yeah, because you want to control all your needs. You got to make sure my needs are met. I also come from a strong black woman household that what she said goes. Ain't husband or not, give us this money and what I say is it. But yeah, I've realized that some of my ways ain't always the best, but most of the time they are. They are really good. I do a really good job at being in control.
I mean, they do say biblically, when we give you something, you're supposed to multiply it.
But what we want? Wait, hold on. What I'm multiplying?
Anything that I bring to the table,
Oh, all
you're supposed
right.
to multiply it.
I'm just making sure I ain't losing your point. But yeah.
Okay. so what I want to hear though, that can that sometimes become problematic though?
What? What part?
The wanting security, but
Controlling your security, basically. It's always problematic.
Especially if you're not a security guard. You ain't even in security, but you won't run shit. What the hell? She ain't got no carrying permit, nothing, but she won't run shit, security-wise.
Oh my God.
But you know, it's just one of those things where you know, as a man, my desire is to provide that, right? And so it's a struggle when you gotta fight to do your job. That's as simple as I can put
Absolutely.
it. Sometimes when you're the person that's been set there and being in a blessing, right? To the unit and in your role, and then you gotta fight to do your job. That's hard.
Well, the problem is, though, I feel like you have to fight to do your job because your job, if we want to look at that list, involves all the basic needs.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the basic needs. So if you're left with our shelter, basically our freaking air, everything.
Because our air was out a couple weeks ago, and it was
Right.
crazy right
And
now.
I went crazy. So you're left with all those things on the basic level. There's a struggle because all of your basic needs are left in your hand, and it's like, well, damn, what's my purpose? Because I'm not controlling any of the basic needs. And even when you talk about, we cook, but even sometimes, depending on how your relationship breaks down, I'm cooking the food, but I'm not making sure financially that we have the money to secure the food.
Well, see, I think
So there's still
still
you
think that-
meeting that need
that's-
in order for me to now meet
you
the
know-
needs that I need to meet.
And so,
So there's always
I love it.
a gap to say, damn,
It is.
there's nothing that any of my roles that I play
but it's
that
but it's egotistical.
have. No, it's not egotistical.
It's not egotistical. It's on the list, though. I got you.
It's basic.
No, I'm
you
saying
just-
if
No,
we just
it's-
Let him say that. I want
if we go back to like what we said, I say anything I give to you, multiply, right? You worried about the basis of how we got to the table. Long as it's at the table, multiply.
And so here's the challenge with that, right? I got it. So here's the thing, right? When you think about it like this, right? Your spouse is meeting your basic needs and providing the shelter, making sure that you're secure. And so what I'm hearing is at the next level, right, when you get to the self-actualization and you move on to the esteem, right?
You're not the ones providing your basic
And
needs, so how
hold
can
on.
you be the
Right.
one self-actualized?
But the thing is, hold on. Maslow need theory and this motivation process never talked about who met the needs. It just talked about the needs being met.
No.
And so hold on. So my point is, in the context of the relationship, here's the key word, right? When it comes down to that being in that relationship and being in that place, you have a big level of vulnerability when you immerse yourself and when you commit yourself to a marriage, right?
Correct.
And so that vulnerability comes with it shouldn't be a risk, because once you make a decision to do that, everything's a risk, right? But at the end of the day, when you live your life and you submit yourself to the process of what the dynamic of your relationship looks like, those basic needs are met. All right, my security is met. I'm safe. Now socially, I got my thing going on. But what I will say, and I can speak to it from for us specifically, some of the conversations that we've had and some of the sacrifices that have been made and some of the things that take place, when we get to the place of that esteem and that self-actualization, that is, I think, society, right, has created an environment where there's now a competition within relationships sometimes. Sometimes not outward, but sometimes we unwittingly immerse ourselves because now we're comparing my accomplishments, titles, because it becomes we're an individualistic society.
Well, I
You know
think,
what I mean?
So you crossing over the lines.
but what I think is that if Maslow was alive today, he would have some of those things. He would have the pyramid, and we know, like the food pyramid, where you have your little sections on the side that comes in and immerse. He would have some other things, because at the end of the day, he does not specify how your needs are met. He don't. But we cannot negate that. How can you be self-actualized if you yourself can't meet your needs when, regardless as to what, hey, life happens and history shows us that there are divorces. Divorces are real. Failed relationships are real. So if in this environment, I control nothing that makes me tick to make me reach this level, what happens when I'm left by myself in these things? So we can be real. You can get technical all day that we're one, we're this, we're that. There's so many people that had prominent relationships who fail. So there's always that lingering mind in your back.
When you say prominent, though.
I mean prominent meaning, not prominent meaning status or fame. I mean prominent meaning together, and there's no way that they would break up. You know, that's what I mean when I say that. But there's a risk for any of it when you think, because we're two flawed individuals trying to get it right. And as we talk about your self-actualization, there's at any point that your mind could be drifting that I am unaware of.
Correct.
So making sure my needs are met and what I need, making sure that there is something that I can secure myself, still is a big thing when there are thoughts and feelings in a brain that I can't control.
I'm gonna hear
You know what that boils down to when I'm hearing you? That boils down to the inability to relinquish control. If my needs is met, why would I care about how it was met?
Because what it says is,
that's not what
I heard
I'm saying.
something deeper. I heard
That's
something
not what I'm
deeper.
saying.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not saying
So what
that
I
I
heard
met
was,
today.
When I hear that a little bit, right? But what I also hear is the fear that what I committed to
It's not gonna work.
may not work, right? But again, we talk about prominent relationships. That is the societal
So we mean,
thing. Hold on.
speak idealistically?
Hold on. Right. So that's the societal thing, right? That now shows me that marriages fail. You know.
They do.
They do. That's reality. But how about all of the marriages of people who struggled years and years? Again, back in the day, people that ain't had nothing, that grinded. Wife stayed home, husband went out and did, I know in Baltimore, they old dudes worked at Sparrows Point or whatever the case may be. And they did things and they worked and they grinded and their families were stable and they raised their kids, right? But today, it seems that everything is more driven towards status and and being seen and what's happening, what's going on with others. And so that fear.
Well, actually, I think that today is the status and the fear because of those times when those Sparrow Point workers were from Baltimore or whatever, when those women relied on that and men were taking care of mom because the kids were still there, and then mom has nothing left, not even her children, and then dad say, hey, I'm done. My kids are grown. I don't want to be here anyway. And then mom is left at an age and a place that we can't get a new career. We can't start from the bottom, now we here. I'm at a place where I should already be established and already have my needs met. And my very security blanket had been stripped from me, and I'm left with nothing as we age and as we matriculate through our stages.
So that's not. I don't believe that that's all encompassing.
No, I don't believe anything. I'm just.
And so no,
definitely not. I mean, that's not everybody. That's.
But you spoke of it real passionately.
I would think I would think that it would take a bit of accountability about.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's not that it happens all the time, but something doesn't happen all the time to make you scared or make you think. Because it only takes one time to ruin your life. It only takes one time for it to happen to you, whether you're looking at it or not.
Right. We can use that example, it only takes one time to ruin your life. It only takes seeing it one time to be scared. That's every single area of our lives.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Correct.
And so we still get up. There was just a shooting down at the dollar store in Jacksonville. You need to go to the dollar store. You still gonna go. You ain't gonna worry about getting shot.
Maybe not in Jacksonville.
You don't live in Jacksonville.
Exactly.
And you don't. So with that. It's kind of like the concept that when you make a decision based on who you're with, right? Mm-hmm. And so that man that went to Sparrow's Point, and I'm speaking like it's me and you, but I'm not him. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And so when you make a decision to build a life with somebody, you can't base your decisions and your feelings and your judgments and how you move on that. So I'm ready to ask you,
sometimes
do you
don't.
Bank account?
I don't.
For your security?
But the problem is, I do not.
I'm just saying.
Well, but that's just the thing. It's not saying that you live that way or you want, but you can't. You would be a fool. That's nothing. No, but not just that. You'll be a fool to say that you have some tools or you have some knowledge of things and it doesn't affect you. Not that you can't keep moving from the other side and remain on the positive side, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't linger in your mind. No different than we say we get together and nobody's cute anymore. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. You're still going to find other people attractive or think they're cute or pretty, whatever. It's foolish to think that everything just go out the door. But it's not saying that you can't still live a viable life and you're not still 100% trusting. But that's not saying that time and time again or things that come up that will spark that insecurity won't come and plague you from time to time.
I believe that, but I think that's where the communication comes into play.
Well, no doubt.
And your mate, because my thing is, we honestly feel like as long as we're both working to be our better self, if we were attracted to each other and say our lowest self, why wouldn't I be receptive to him being his higher self and vice versa? I say all that to say, like, my thing is you got to be, and it's easier said than done, but you got to have that mentality like, I know what I bring to the table. I know that I can do this, and that. I know, like, pretty much your resume. Could they go out and find that from somewhere else, or whatever the case may be? Absolutely. But in my mind, I'm going to be best to do it. So I feel like as long as I'm working on me being my better self, he working on him being his other self, what's coming in between that? Nothing.
You just said something.
Not really.
You just said something that spoke on a topic we're gonna talk about sometime at another time.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it, but we ain't gonna dive into it. But I gotta say it. Part of the problem with what you just said, and part of what you're saying, babe, is when we get in relationships, we sometimes get too comfortable.
I agree.
All we did to get this thing where it's at, we get comfortable. And I'm gonna leave that right there. I ain't gonna say that.
But let's break down. But hold on. But let's break down what's getting comfortable. Because when I think about comfortable, I think like you put a facade on the who that's not. You didn't live up to
that's not it. That's not it. So, and again, I don't want to leave where we at because we still got to talk about the men. getting comfortable in this regard is almost like the hunt, you know, and that goes into the men piece, but what men want. The hunt, right? Once you got it, what you did to get it, you can't, again, if you say your higher self, right? Mm-hmm. So you think you want to do the same things you did at your lower self? No, you got to step your game up.
Absolutely.
You got to continually step your game up.
Absolutely.
You can't, doing what you did to get him or get her, so to speak, ain't even enough. You got to step your game up. You know what I mean? If you were living here or you were this way or your finances were here or now you were living like this, now when things get better, you don't get comfortable because things get better. You step your game up when things get better.
I mean, it can get deep when you say that because things can get better on the physical end, but eternally, you still got to step that up too.
Well,
you get what I'm saying?
Everything.
Today,
you got to evolve
to that, right? Which
everything.
That meaning that the work you said putting into.
But see what I feel about that when you say step your game up. I guess I'm a woman. I'm just gonna take it back. You step your game. Like, what does that really mean?
So that means let me unpack it because again, this is a whole nother segment. But what that means and what I'm saying
is what men want.
Well, no, I mean, so what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it's like this. Okay, if you're in a relationship, let me just think of a kind of an example. If you're in a relationship that you get together, you got to scrape, you got to struggle, you got to do some things to you got to get by, right? And you grinded to get by. You have that grace with each other when things are struggling. You getting eviction notices, you getting late bill, whatever the case may be, right? And now you get to a place where you start to progress, right? Mm-hmm. That don't mean that may not be your issue at the moment, but there are other areas in your life that you may need to give each other grace, right? And so, and as your relationship evolves, the things that you deal with, they're going to change, and so you got to be in a place where you can grow and change and look at your spouse and all of this stuff and continue to work together. Somebody mentioned communication, right? At the end of the day, where you are, quote unquote, status wise, based off of finances or based off of, you having children and all of this type of stuff, those are the things that those are factors. But none of that stuff can supersede who you are to each other. Mm-hmm. And so as you navigate that stuff, when I say step your game up, that means, okay, because we don't have to stress about the bills today, okay, we still need to sit down and have a conversation, whether it's about nothing.
Self-worth.
Right? I mean, but
you know what I mean?
Like you said, the key word is evolving.
Well, but evolving with that still is a little tricky for me because everybody that come in a relationship are not struggling.
That was just an example.
I know, but I'm just what I'm saying is I don't look as evolving as though those kind of things. I look at evolving as becoming yourself, but also we cannot negate the fact of comfortability. When you are secure in who you are with somebody, there are going to be some things that you're going to feel confident and comfortable with letting loose and letting you, because to me, sometimes getting stagnant allows you to see some of those dark moments in people. Because stepping your game up mean I'm keep evolving and I'm changing things. But there's times where we're not changing and evolving and we may be stuck and need some real help. And you need to see some real dirt to move forward. So I guess I'm just looking at it differently.
Deeper now.
Well, but
she
I'm looking
deeper
at
now.
But she said to, so I'm looking at this comment and in relation to the last statements that you made as it relates to the insecurity and the fear that this person might leave me and I may be left by myself. And so, again, if we got it out the mud together, why are you afraid that I'm going to leave you? I'm not talking about us, of course. No. But just the whole concept as if there's constant communication through every stage of our relationship, as we're having these challenges and as we're doing all of that, it's almost like we need to make sure that we recognize where we are, what has taken place. We recognize where we've come from, but we recognize who we are to each other. We continue to affirm that, and we continue to work through every process that we have with fidelity. If I have any inkling that this, and again, we're getting into what men want, so I'm gonna slow down. But it's almost like if there's a challenge as it relates to who we are, if you feel insecure or whatever, that's a marriage you shouldn't be in because you gotta be vulnerable. You gotta be able to lay it on the line and not question anything. All right, yo, so we back. All right, we talked about what women want. This segment, we gonna jump right in. We talked about that Maslow's, that hierarchy of needs. We talked about self-actualization. We talked about esteem, social needs, safety, and physiological, which is that foundational need. We talked about it as it relates to relationships and the conflict, the distinction and correlations between your needs and your wants in the context of a relationship. And we talked about what women want. Now, we're going to switch it. All right? Same concepts, same ideas, same thoughts. But now, I guess it's our turn to school them on what men want, bro. What we want, man.
I mean, some men are complex, some men. I think the true thing is like you gotta be in tune with yourself to actually know what you truly want. Some people think that their wants is based upon social media, things that they've seen. Me personally, I've never had a template of anybody that showed me the way of doing things. So I've never had like a concept of marriage because I've never seen a married couple where I'm like, oh, I admire them and that's who I wanted to be like this and that. It's like most of the marriages that I was raised around failed. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like my thing is like I'm not in tune with like what everybody else think that they want in a marriage. Like, oh, they people like women say they want to be the stability or they want this, and men we just opposite. It's like I just want to know things that you can buy. It's like knowing you're going to be there no matter what. You know what I mean? Even though that's almost impossible to actually have that stability of that because you never know what somebody will do under any circumstance. But that's just something that within men we just want to know because we always on the forefront of like the protector. So in the end of it is like if I put my life on the line, I want to at least know this person I'm putting my life on the line is going to be there no matter what because I'm putting the ultimate price. Regardless, of how they transport, I'm saying we'll be basing out to the basic necessity is protection. It's like if I'm willing to wholeheartedly say that I'm going to put my life on the line for this situation, in turn, I would like to know that I got loyalty there to know that you want to deal with certain situations with. You know what I mean? So I think it's simple when it comes to certain men.
So, and then you come to me and I ain't so simple. I'm simple, but I'm not. Let me just say that. Right. So let me speak from the lens of those needs, right? I think that my life has positioned me and has trained me and has taught me to fight and scratch, right? To ensure that from physiological all the way up to self-actualization is met for me, right? And so a part of that has kind of fostered a level of sacrifice, right? A level of confidence. And so with that, I think one of the biggest wants that I have in the context of a relationship, and so we and again I'll correlate it to a conversation or a concept that we talked about in one of our couples groups, and we kind of shared it that women want love, men want respect, and so though as I have scratched and crawled to ensure that those needs are met in my own life, for those in my life, I scratch and crawl to support that process for them as well. You know what I mean? And so that's personally, right? That's not all men. I'm just saying personally from my perspective and from my lenses and from my lived experience. And so the concept of wanting, I guess respect, I just don't want a hard time, man. That's all. You know what I mean? That's simple. That's the simple part, right? But what that looks like.
See, I'm about to say, that's subjective.
What that looks like. That's what I'm saying.
That's playing the double Dutch game. Like,
and again, I'm a Gemini, man. I used to kind of be like, y'all stupid with that zodiac stuff, man. I ain't trying to hear that, but I'm a Gemini, man.
So are you saying you want like a dictatorship?
Not really. No, absolutely not. When I say I don't want a hard time, I mean like I'm, what did I say that warranted that? I want to understand that.
So I don't want a hard time. It almost to me sounds like you want things ran the way that you want them.
No, that sounds like
in some ways, no doubt. I can't front.
Which gives me like dictatorship.
No.
I mean,
No.
That sound like a trigger. That sound like that was over there. That sound like that was a trigger that hit her right there.
No. So when I say I don't want a hard time, I mean realistically, in most regards, I would believe in. I'm gonna let her interject or agree, disagree, whatever. I believe I'm simple. Help me out. I believe in many regards I'm simple, right?
The crazy part is for her to get dictatorship based on your statement.
Right.
Dictatorship is how it comes across depending on what the topic is.
Okay. Help me out.
But I believe that it's subjective to who's listening, because when he said that I didn't get dictatorship, I'm getting not having a hard time is saying I just want peace. Like I don't want toxic behavior.
Well, guess
I want
what?
nothing projected
That's
across
why
me
we're
that's
breaking
unwarranted.
it down versus woman versus male.
No, but that's
Because
what women do. Y'all project things that's
down,
unwarranted. Like y'all, based on what you said off the last segment, based on how I feel today, it might be, you get what I'm saying? And that's what we don't want. Like if I'm sitting in the house, I'm being myself, and you come home and things is in order, and most of the time you ain't even expecting things to be ordered, but because you feel a certain way, you don't give a shit about the order in the house. It's about your feelings at that moment. And that's the only thing that men don't like. Most men won't admit this, but if we truly love the woman that we with, we're vulnerable to that extent. Because it's always to the point that if I'm showing you love and I'm being vulnerable to you and it's not reciprocated, it's almost so like it's men have a sense of insecurity about them because we always gotta be strong all the time. So we need to be like validated at times. And when we actually like vulnerable enough to seek it from you, that's the most time that you're supposed to give it, because most men don't actually do it. Now, you got them sucker motherfuckers that want it all the time, and then it is what it is. They get what they get. But I'm saying, but if you got a man that not lovey-dovey all the time, but certain times it's no different than, it's like we have feminine energy in us as well. Just like y'all have masculine energy in yourselves, just got to be activated. You get what I'm saying? So we need to be validated by a woman sometimes.
It's called estrogen and testosterone. We both possess both.
So when I say I don't want a hard time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that concept is simple. That he kind of caught it a little bit, but the reality that something that we spoke on before about our roles in our family, right? Mm-hmm. I fight the world, she takes care of the home. I don't want to fight at home. And so when you think about all of the things that kind of come into play. Those needs that I possess, those 5 basic needs, her 5 basic needs, wherever we are on that spectrum on any given moment, when we collide, where are we? And how that plays out. You see what I'm saying? And so, and again, I guess, dictatorship, absolutely not.
So when I say dictatorship, even in dictatorships, there's give and take. So it's not just all of what I want. What I mean when I say that is that, like, so say when you just said you don't want to fight at home. Is there a fight when I get home because you wanted things a certain way and it wasn't? Versus based on, no, I'm just giving an example. Not personally. No, so if I'm saying, if you know that I like strawberry jelly on my toast. Now, I want that, and then it's great, but then it's causing conflict. No, I mean that's extreme.
Where's my strawberry jelly, bitch? I like green jelly.
So I'm being a little extreme, but I'm saying, why? If a woman has an opinion, does that not necessarily mean to you that there's not peace? So I need you to elaborate.
You can have your opinion. It's just your opinion. You can't see.
But see, when the people say opinion, no. But see, he did not say opinion. He said fight. That's too. Opinion is just basic conversation.
So here's the thing. Not only can my woman have an opinion, I solicit her opinion. And so wherever she is on that hierarchy of needs at the moment determines how she receives my solicitation.
Okay.
And if she feels that my solicitation is just fluff, just to appease or placate her, or if it's genuine.
Yeah, but they'll question it every time.
That's not
like, you just
I
said that to
can't
shut
control
me
that.
up. They do that all the time.
I can't control that. You know what I mean?
So that's what you mean when you say peace.
So no, I mean, that's really just to answer your question.
Okay.
But when I say peace, I mean, in my, just I guess, personally lived and had to fight often in my relationship, but externally. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm fighting, I don't want to fight at home.
I understand it.
You know what I mean? And so being in a situation where now you as a man, I think, like I said, I believe that there's some nuances to it, but just to generalize, just say, okay, women want love, men want respect. Ultimately, showing respect is showing love, and vice versa, right? So we want the same things to a degree, but how it manifests itself is ultimately dependent upon where each of us are in that very moment that it takes place. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we live every single day having to kind of navigate whatever's going on in our lives, and then how do we deal with that? So if I feel quote unquote disrespected today, does that impact how I show love, right? And so if
probably does.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you mentioned when we talked about what women want, and we talked about some of those other things, communicating throughout that process, right? Being able to effectively communicate our needs, effectively communicate where we are in those moments to make sure that, okay, I'm at a place of, wherever I am at this moment, right? I'm communicating to my partner where I am, what's going on, how I'm feeling, right? Do I now take that communication as quote unquote a charge against who I am, based on where I am on that hierarchy, based on what my feelings are at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. Because now my wanting peace can't infringe upon your wanting, or my wanting respect can't infringe upon your wanting love. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So ultimately, there's a balance, so to speak. But I think there can ultimately be I'm gonna say collision. You know what I'm saying? Between partners receiving what they need and giving what they need, depending on where they are. And life happens, and life be lifing, and how we navigate that thing. I continually I'll keep my little quote. And I'll stand on it. You can navigate that stuff as long as you don't allow your problems to be more important than who you are to each other.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes some collisions is necessary. Because you see the truth in the conflict. I see exactly what you think about me in the times when you're upset. Not when everything going good, but when things is going bad. Because to me, personally, love to me is restraint. If you on the street and somebody that's on the street say something to you that you would put your hands on somebody or violate them because of that, if I do the same thing, you shouldn't treat me the same way that somebody that you would do on something on the street. For me, it's like the Incredible Hulk factor. Hulk could smash the buildings and all that, but when he seen Jane, or whatever her name is, I forgot the white woman's name, but he calmed the fuck down. That's love. You get what I'm saying? He just destroyed buildings and fuck everybody, but when she came, he calmed the fuck down. He turned back to Bruce Banner. That's love to me. You know what I mean? But, people got their true definitions, but I do believe that in those moments at times, that's when your respect is tested. Because you in your feelings. So how far are you going to take it?
I think, but love is restraint. I can definitely see that point. But love is also being able to be your true self.
I mean, that's true, but...
So if Hulk would have come out, and I do believe... Is her name Jane?
I think it was Jane, though.
If he would have come out to her, she would have still loved him in that moment, even if he would have showed that fierceness.
But Jane was toxic. She was turned on with Hulk smash and shit.
Exactly.
You know
but what I'm saying is, even in those states where he was Hulk, she would have still loved him through Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No,
she tries to calm him down.
She calmed him down after they teared up
him.
enough shit, and they know that they got the goddamn big weapons out now.
But
let's calm down.
So I think love is restraint, but love is also being in that space that if I was to show you this, you're going to love me anyway.
But see, that depends. That's subjective.
I mean, it is subjective.
Everybody has their boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody has their boundaries, but
problem.
again, we're going to talk about love, and we're going to talk about you always want the good. So you want me to be the doctor instead of Hulk. But can you handle me when I'm Hulk? Because Hulk was both characters.
Right.
So there was no Hulk without the doctor and vice versa.
True.
So we can't say that I love all good things about you and when you do practice restraint. But in that moment, when you can't practice that restraint, do I now look at you different?
I agree with what you're saying, but I just don't want the public to get misconstrued by what you're saying. Because I agree with what she's saying, but let's not get misconstrued. If you out here being a whore, we don't give a fuck about you being a whore. Like, we're not going to accept that from anything. Like, accept me for me. Like, certain things we will, but as a man, I just think it takes to a level of respect. You can make a mistake, but if you show, like, and that's the worst thing you can ever do to a man. And I'm speaking on as a married man. If you disrespect me publicly, it's no coming back from that.
But guess what? We still speak it from our lens and our vantage point. Because there are men that could come back from it. There are men who, I'm using your words, live with whores. So, and they're quite fine because we all have our breaking points and this is what I will tolerate and this is what I will not. Because every man don't see respect as the same.
That's true.
No, they don't. But let's keep it. But
every woman
see,
don't
now
see
we're getting
love
all
the same.
some game from a male's perspective. As a male being approached by another male, we dictate how to carry a male due to how his women treat him. We could respect the hell out you before we see you around your woman, and then all of a sudden your woman carries a certain way and be like, oh, that's because now we see your weakness. You see what I'm saying? Now you can be exploited.
Well, and that may be true, but all I'm saying is how you respect that other man still will not dictate how he deals with his woman and what he consider her to be respectful or not. So regardless as to how another man respects him, that still may not be what he requires from the woman that he calls his.
I hear that. I hear everything you're saying, but when it comes to men and respect has a long. It's a whole 360. It ain't about just the respect from the woman. It's about the man that's next to me.
Every man don't require the same respect.
No, they don't. You're right. That's true. So it's levels to it.
So when we talk about those needs, right, and those wants, physiologically, air, I definitely want to breathe. I drink water. I need to eat. I need to practice reproduction.
Your reproductive days are gone.
I need to you hear what I said that intentionally the way I said it. I need to practice,
you said practice.
Reproduction.
Not to come out of it, just practice.
So again.
That's what we're here for the result.
And so
correct. There we go.
But I think the way that men conceptualize that respect and even love for women is born out of that hierarchy of needs. But it doesn't come from how those needs are met in your present. It comes from how those needs have been met historically in your life, which is what molds you into who you are. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
And so if I'm one who have been having issues with my physiological needs, some of my basic needs, like housing, safety, food. I get married, I get on my feet, my life turns around, and my wife don't cook. I'm probably gonna go off that day, right? Just thinking about kind of because that's something that's a trigger, right? You feel what I'm saying?
Well, technically, what you're saying is based on just that statement this is what I got out of it. If those needs are met individually, how in the world can you put them together and now say your needs are met? Because again, if all those needs are met, you cannot reach the place of self-actualization.
What I'm saying is, if that was an area in your life.
No, I'm not saying just that. I'm just saying, just based on just hearing what you said, not saying that you said this. So technically, we have to go through these things and feel fulfillment in these areas even before we become one with each other. Because now when we become one, now we are trying to fulfill those 5 needs together.
Correct.
So
Because
basically,
now our Maslow needs are as a unit
So-
and not individual.
so
So,
basically-
your individual should have been created before we were together.
So basically-
and now that we're together,
I mean, but that's the second
we're
side.
creating a new list.
So this is kind of what conversations that we've had even with our kids about learning yourself, getting to know yourself, living your life, getting to a place of peace and wholeness within yourself before you try to immerse your life with somebody else and all your shit and all their shit collide, right? So essentially what you're saying, when you get to a place where you're not self-actualized
you should be figuring out your shit.
and not trying to be in no relationship.
But sometimes
Because it's a mess.
that partner might be your missing piece to get you to that point of
It may be, but here's the problem: at what cost, though? Because what damage you gonna cause to them while they trying to figure you out and you causing them chaos because you ain't your
stuff together.
Your safety needs
Now,
aren't
see,
met.
now
You feel what I'm saying?
talking about
And so now they stressed out. But here's the problem: they help you get to your stuff, but in the
Now they
process of them
neglect
helping you
their
get to your
shit.
stuff, you done broke them down.
Right now, see,
And now they reset. Now they starting over, trying to
because
figure it out.
Why I say that, why I brought that, because I bring it back to even what we said in the women's side. If you yourself as a woman, man, whatever, are self-actualized and have fulfilled all those steps, the moment where you may feel disrespected and you know the intent behind what your wife or your spouse brings, you can kind of overlook it. But if you yourself have not felt that confidence, those little things are weak links to bring you down. No different than when I said the money, the shelter, the security. If you yourself have reached the level of self-actualization, regardless of to where your shelter comes from, you've already reached the level of security. So now all those other things are just building blocks to add to, because you've already reached that level.
And so you have the ability to be vulnerable and not be insecure that because of my vulnerability, now that makes me weak. And in essence, understanding that vulnerability is really strength in being able to let go of some things and allow the person that I've committed and submitted myself to hold on some of the things, and now I don't have to, which gives me the ability to be strong in some other area to build us up.
And see, and that's my definition of equally yoked. Like people be talking about this equally yoked thing, and they be like, equally yoked meaning I got this, you got that, we do this, and put it together. No, it's not. If I'm this super successful dude, I don't want this super successful woman because off the outside, I might be looking super successful, but it's things that maybe emotionally that I'm weak at. It's something, ain't nobody 100% at anything. But equally yoked meaning that my strengths are your weaknesses. And your weaknesses are my strengths. And you gotta allow me to be vulnerable enough to allow you in to take a role and take precedent over my weaknesses.
And again, I just keep going back to this hierarchy of needs, because technically your relationship should fulfill those hierarchy of needs. And there may be you fulfill one block and I fulfill another. Mm-hmm. So we may not technically be the one fulfilling the spot. Mm-hmm. But when we get to the top, we both should reach self-actualization as a relationship, as a unit. But it doesn't matter which one we hit because we're hitting them together.
And still take a level of humility, because long as you know that your partner actually got you to that level of self, then it's like you got to acknowledge that. Some people might get lost in it and think it's all about me and not understanding that it's acknowledgement, because that will give you your credit to not feel like you didn't meet your needs.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of like, as I'm thinking through it, it's like you need yours, you need yours, and then we need one that we build together.
Right.
And that eliminates the I and the you. Now that we're on this hierarchy of needs together, we're reaching the same goal as a unit.
And people don't realize, and once you reach that, life start to go a lot smoother. It just start taking off.
That's cool.
So what women want? What men want? Listen, Date night with Coach, man. Listen, we having a great time in here. We vibing. I think I'm learning some stuff in here, man. Y'all doing a great job. I appreciate y'all. So next week we going live. I know Harv's gonna be on there. I'll probably be on there. One of these ladies, somebody gonna be on there. Look, we gonna try all get on there.
I'm on there.
We gonna go live.
I might.
We gonna talk. We want to hear from y'all about what women want, what men want. And at the end of the day, think about those hierarchy of needs. Think about your physiological needs. Think about your safety. Think about your social needs, emotional needs, your esteem. Think about self-actualization. What is it that gets you to that point of self-actualization, and how all of these concepts kind of immerse themselves in you and your partner and how they collide as it relates to your relationship? Let's talk about it, y'all. Date night with Coach.